Yo, what up guys, it's your boy Williams Fitness back again with another video. So, obviously in the last couple of videos we've been, touching on steroids, we've been touching on the dangers of steroids, side effects, all these kind of things. And a few people have asked and DM'd me on Instagram and on YouTube and commented about the medication that I now take for life and why I take them, why I have to take them, and what was the cause of it. So, long story short, and I will try and keep this brief. It's more of an informative thing to show you, the knock-on effects of what happens when you overdo steroids, which is basically what I did. Let's be realistic about this. I took far too much and in a shorter period of time on the final cycle that I did do. Now, that final cycle did consist of, I was trying to go through my notes because I used to note down a lot of my cycles. And I don't think every iPhone I've had, I don't think they've all transferred over. So I'm pretty sure I started on, this is the final cycle roughly, so I'm pretty sure it was some sort of test base with test prop and D-ball for the first 3 to 4 weeks. I'm pretty sure I front-loaded equipoise, then I jumped from the test, and I think I switched out Deca to Tren E, Tren A, and I was still occasionally penning test prop just because I had some left. Probably like 1 mil once a week, just between the Tren A. Test prop and Tren A are like your fast acting, so they're in and out your system relatively quickly, and that's the reason why I was pinning them so frequently. Long story short, obviously you all know the story that obviously I pretty much died in a park, rushed to hospital, lungs full of blood clots. Medication from that was obviously whilst I was in the hospital, I had to sign a waiver because I had to have this injection which they did into my stomach, which was like basically just a blood thinner, but it was the strongest dose that they could possibly do. And the waiver I had to sign, and the reason I had to sign this waiver, was to stipulate that if anything should happen once they injected me, and I'll go into that in a second, that the hospital are not at risk. And the reason I had to sign this was because once they give you this injection, the blood clot, or blood clots in my case, can travel. So they can stay where they are, the blood thinner can do the work and slowly over time start to shrink down the blood clots, or they can move and they can be free flowing, and then they can stop at your heart, they can stop in your brain, they can stop elsewhere. So obviously heart, you risk it, you've got risk of stroke and heart attack, brain, stroke again. So there was, at the time I'm thinking, shit, if I don't take this, I'm pretty much dead. If I do take this, I could be dead. Or in my case, it could be worse. I think having a stroke and having major mental problems later on in life, I think that's worse than death. I know a lot of you probably might disagree with me with that, but if that completely fucks up my how I live day to day, would I want to be here? It's one of those situations. So I'm not going to lie, I was in the hospital. At this point, I'm on the bed in the critical unit. The nurse, who ironically was my best friend's wife at the time, comes in. So that was a blessing, on its own, that there was someone there that I knew. So I've signed this waiver. And at this point, my ex-girlfriend at the time had gone to go and pick up my mum to bring her to see me. So I'm like, and my curtain, they have the curtain rails that go around the bed. That was wide open, and there was 3 or 4 people in beds opposite me. So I've got my jumper in my hand, and I'm literally pretending like I'm just fucking tired, and I'm literally crying into this jumper, thinking, what the fuck have I done? Upset about my boy, thinking, fuck, am I going to die? So I've signed this waiver. She's come back over, give me this injection, this blood thinner injection. And then they've kept me on this special unit, which is basically like a 24-hour sort of a watch. At this point, my phone's blowing up. My girlfriend's upset, my mum's upset, my family's upset, all my friends are upset. One of my close friends who used to like get me my steroids, he was like upset. He was thinking, it was his fault, even though it was my fault for taking the shit in the first place. Long story short, a few hours go by. Next day they changed me to a different ward, so I'm there for about a week. I'm in this ward for about a week, constantly getting these injections of blood thinners and anticoagulants. And over this period of time, obviously they've done blood tests, they've done ECGs. My ECG was irregular, and part of the left side of my heart was swollen, and that was due to the extra additional pressure that was put on me from breathing because of all the blood clots. So obviously I was struggling to get the oxygen in, therefore my heart was struggling to pump the blood around. So I've got this massive strain on one side of my heart. This is the thing, just from a little few blood clots here, has such a massive major effect over the whole body. So doctors are coming back and forth, and they're like, oh, okay, you've got a massive blood clot, we've done this, now you're going to take these medications for the next week. So I'm in hospital, physio have come, I can't move at this point, I physically can't walk, I'm really struggling my mobility's gone to next to zero. Luckily I had an ensuite in my ward and my bedroom in the hospital, so to speak. So my ex-partner was helping me to shower and get changed and put my socks on. Towards the end of the week I had physio come out. Physio would help me move around. So when I left the hospital, I left in a wheelchair. That's how serious it was, even after the fact. For a week, probably longer than a week, 2 weeks, I was on a Zimmer frame, like an old people's walking frame. Not even lying to you. And then after that, I had crutches for about 3 or 4 days. Then I got a bit pissed off with it and just started just doing what I could when I could. So, excuse me, that was EE telling me my phone bill's ready. So I obviously got a bit fed up with the crutches and stuff, and started upping my mobility. What I had to do was in the morning, I had to come downstairs, and I had to literally stay downstairs for the day until it was time to go to bed, and that was the only travel I was doing for probably about a month. That's how serious it was. Now, the medication I'm on now for life is, there's 2 types. I'll go into one that's more relevant to what I'm talking about now, which is rivaroxaban. Rivaroxaban is like a better form of warfarin. You might have heard of warfarin. It's basically an anticoagulant and a blood thinner. So blood thinner just keeps your blood thin, like a very strong aspirin, so to speak. And an anticoagulant is to stop and prevent your blood from clotting again. The only downside to this and side effect is I get chronic back pain. If I do get any cuts, I bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed. Like the smallest of cuts, it just takes forever to stop bleeding. The other medication I take, and these are for life as well, by the way, is levothyroxine. Now, levothyroxine is a thyroid medication. The reason I have to take levothyroxine is, again, because I abused T3. Now, those of you who don't know what T3 is, some of you obviously do. It's basically a thyroid medication. It's not something that's created in some guy's garage. It's a prescribed medication. And basically, when you take T3, it basically stimulates the thyroid. Now, if you don't know what thyroid is, where it is, it's almost like a butterfly here, almost in the throat sort of area, and that controls pretty much all your hormones in your body. So the reason I was taking T3 as part of my cycle, this wasn't prescribed, by the way, the reason I was taking T3 was to help drop body fat. I was taking that alongside clenbuterol towards the end of that cycle that I did, that stupid cycle. This, in turn, completely fucked my thyroid. Now, we can argue about thyroid function and how it can be repaired and so forth, but I have to have my blood work done now every 3 months. Every quarter, I have my blood work done just to check my levels of, for my thyroid medication, because I have to take 2 boxes. I take a 50 milligram and a 25 milligram. And for somebody my age, I shouldn't be taking that at all. Even with problems in the family with regards to thyroid issues genetically, still shouldn't be taking it at my age. I'm only 34. I say only, that's pretty old. And the rivaroxaban, like I said, nobody should be taking that until like 60s, 70s, when blood clots start forming and you get DVTs. A DVT is a deep vein thrombosis. A lot of elderly people get that in the lower extremities of the calves, lower legs. So yeah, in a nutshell, those are the medications I take. That's why I take them. This is why I'm so proactive in telling people not to do steroids. It's not me to just jump on some fucking pedestal because shit happened to me. It's because I know the seriousness of how it could actually kill you. A lot of these channels will not tell you that. A lot of these channels that claim or will say, you know, some of them do know a lot about steroids. I can't refute that. They do know a lot about steroids, they know about what they do. But I think you need to hear it from somebody that's actually been down that path and, you know, almost completely fucked their entire life up. And I can't be more grateful now to, you know, people like the NHS, my ex-partner, everybody else that helped me get through that. Through my own selfish and vanity needs, that this all happened. And it's stupid. It's very fucking stupid. So when people ask me, should I take steroids, should I start a cycle? My answer is always no. But if you're doing it, and, you know, I will try and give you the best advice I can to make sure you don't fuck yourself up and what happened to me doesn't happen to you. And I can't stand the people that jump in the comments and say, oh, you didn't take it safely. I've literally been taking steroids since I was about 16, 17 years old. It's not a case of I didn't know what I was doing. It was a case that steroids comes with an addiction. I genuinely believe that, and I think every time I took a new cycle, I was trying to sort of increase from the last cycle. That was me. That was a personal thing. It doesn't necessarily take away from the fact that steroids are still dangerous. They are. They're not designed and supposed to be in your body unless they're prescribed. So on that note, guys, I'm going to leave it there. If you've got any comments or any questions about what's happened to me, if you've got anything that's going on in your life, you know, in a similar sort of situation, or you're worried, concerned, drop a comment. Hit me up on Instagram. Drop me a DM if you want to chat further about it. I'm more than willing to do that with you guys. And obviously, whilst you're on Instagram, drop us a follow. If you've liked the video, like the video. Thank you. If you've not yet subscribed, please do so. Hit the bell. And on that note, guys, I've been me, you and you. Peace.